Oh, I guess I hear that. Julia, what's up? How
What's
you doing?
Hey, Mike Davis, how's it going? Clapback culture
Uh,
right here, Thursday night.
man, back in the new studio, still working a couple things out, but it's looking real good over here.
It is, it is. So hopefully we don't have any echoes tonight, y'all. We are working through this system, so continue to bear with us um, as we make it happen. But you know what, Mike? We have some great things on the line for tonight's show. I'm excited. We have a really good show for y'all tonight. We might as well just jump right into it. What do you think?
I think so. We got a lot to cover.
Okay, so first thing on the menu, y'all, is Lieutenant Michael Byrd. He was the Capitol Police officer, the Capitol Police lieutenant, rather, who was the shooter or the officer that was involved in the shooting of Ashley Babbitt that led to her death during the January 6th riots. In the chaotic minutes before the shot, and killed, Miss Babbitt. Michael Byrd, he focuses attention on those glass doors. You guys, we remember that moment and how crazy it was leading into the lobby of the House of Representatives chamber, where he was, taking care of 60 to 80 staffers that were holed up. And it was, Lieutenant Byrd's job to protect them. So we have a clip. This is his first, exclusive interview that he did with our, one of my favorite news journalists, Lester Holt on NBC News. Let's take a look at that.
Give us some more units. We're fighting them.
Tonight, police officers and paramedics in Aurora, Colorado are facing criminal charges after stopping 23-year-old Elijah McClain while he walked home from a convenience store.
We're here today because Elijah McClain is not here, and he should be.
Police had gotten a call about a suspicious man wearing a mask.
I am an introvert.
They restrained him with a carotid hold, and paramedics injected him with a powerful sedative, ketamine.
I can't breathe correctly.
Now, a 32-count indictment. 2 officers, a former officer, and 2 paramedics each face a count of manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. 4 of the 5 also face assault charges. McClain's family described him as a kind introvert who played his violin to comfort cats at an animal shelter. They say he often wore a mask to keep warm because of a blood condition.
This is a loud and resounding statement that nobody is above the law.
Right after his death in August of 2019, prosecutors did not charge anyone.
Say his name.
For these protesters, but the case drew renewed attention last year following the murder of George Floyd. Some of McClain's last words, "I'm just different," became a rallying cry. Calling
So as y'all can see, that was the clip of Elijah McClain, not of Lieutenant Michael Byrd. Yet and still, I think we can jump into everything that happened with Elijah McClain. As you see in the clip, we had 2 officers or 3 officers and 2 paramedics that got charged in that case. Julia, do you want to bring a little background information about that?
Yeah, little background information. I thought this was interesting that this young man was killed in, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it happened in 2014 and got back into the forefront after after the murder of George Floyd. And so this is being picked back up. It's one of those situations, Mike, where I'm absolutely stunned that this happened. Very rarely do you see police officers charged, but even more rare is to see paramedics and any type of medical personnel being indicted, being charged, being convicted. And so this is interesting. And when I listened to this story, I was like, wait a minute, did I not hear about this? No, we didn't hear about this. We're hearing about it now. And we heard about it back, in 2020, but this is absolutely unreal. It's I think what's also interesting is they show a clip of this young man going into a store where he had a mask on, and it made me think like, oh, is this current? Right? And so I didn't think it was odd at all to watch it now in real time, when in fact, this happened, years ago. And so, man, this is very interesting to see this come into the forefront.
Yeah, I think this is another case where you just got a young black kid literally just trying to walk to the store and walk back home. Somebody called him a suspicious person. We all kind of know how that goes, unfortunately. One of the things that definitely had to jump out about this case, though, was the ketamine. So when they were holding him down and the paramedics came, I mean, they injected him with 500 milligrams of ketamine. And there are a lot of doctors who came and spoke up and said that a lot of times when they do surgeries, they only use 250 milligrams, and even that is on the high end. So the fact that they gave this young man 500 milligrams, it seemed to shock a lot of the doctors who are seeing these reports. So, I mean, unfortunately, yes, it did take George Floyd losing his life to bring this case back to the forefront. But like you said, these charges are extremely rare. And I mean, I hope that his family gets to have justice. I mean, when you see the clips of his father talking, it just seems like that family has been living in agony behind this for so long. So I'm just happy that they might actually get some justice.
Couldn't agree more. And I won't belabor the point with with what else you said, but this is it's heartbreaking. This is a heartbreaking story. I can't even imagine it's having to go through this as a family member, and then having the police back their officers by saying the death of this child happened because he was resisting arrest with an underlying health condition. And so we see that to be the same case with George Floyd.
Yeah, and this is why it's so hard for us as the public to trust police reports. Because when you read the police report and then you see what's on the video and then you actually get the facts about the injection, I mean, it's like the police, they just write whatever they want in these police reports, and we're supposed to just accept it, knowing that oftentimes it gets proven to be false later on.
Absolutely. So, Cuddy, are we prepared to play the clip with Lieutenant Michael Byrd?
We are not, but I see people mentioning that story in the comments, so we will definitely come back to it, but we're going to have to move forward first, but we will come back to that, y'all.
No problem. So here's some good news during a dark time. Food stamps are slated for an increase. The Biden administration has approved a significant and permanent increase to those SNAP benefits, that food assistance program to families in need, y'all. And I think this is absolutely great. Activists say that the previous levels of pre-pandemic SNAP assistance, was just simply not enough. And basically, their argument is that households are having to choose a cheaper option in order to be able to buy food for their families. And I couldn't agree more. I absolutely could not agree more. I know that a lot of individuals, a lot of households received additional SNAP benefits during the pandemic, and that has really carried them a long way. A lot of people often criticize, like, oh, they're using their EBT to buy crab. Well, why shouldn't they? Why should they have to eat, something? Why do they have to eat food? Why is crab considered like the creme de la creme, number one? But if somebody wants to buy some crab legs and give some crab legs to their kids, they absolutely should. And that's exactly what SNAP and EBT is for, period.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Major kudos to the Biden administration for making this happen. They increased it higher than it was pre-pandemic, but I think this also goes to show that, the government knows what people need. They know what we need for food. When you look at the unemployment benefits, they know what we need to live. So we really need to start taking steps to give people access to the things that they actually need. This is a step in the right direction. The Biden administration had already said that they wanted to increase social services. This is a step towards that. So, I mean, I got to give credit where credit's due. I think I read that 42 million families are going to get automatically enrolled. So there ain't no extra paperwork, no extra process. It's going to be like a snap of the finger next month. They just going to have it. So shout out to everybody getting those extra benefits. I know a lot of kids are going to be a lot less hungry.
Absolutely. Moving on, Mike, this is an interesting story that you brought to my attention. School board members in Florida are having their salaries held by the State Board of Education for their mandatory face mask policies, y'all. It's crazy. I don't know, do we have a clip or an overlay? We have an overlay.
Yeah, we got the overlay.
So basically, y'all, despite the judge's ruling last week declaring that Florida governor's ban on mandates in schools being unconstitutional, the State Board of Education forged ahead with its threat to withhold school board member salaries in the districts that require the face coverings in classrooms. Well, the Education Commissioner, Richard Corcoran, announced that the school board members in Alachua and Broward counties will not be getting their paycheck from the Department of Education this month. He's saying that because they violated parents' parental rights and enforcing the mandatory mask policy. Wild. I mean, we're just seeing red states do a bunch of things that are unconstitutional. I know we want to pop off on this Texan abortion ban. This is falling right in the lines with that. Mike, I leave it to you with some thoughts.
I don't know what to make of a lot of these southern states right now. I mean, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. I really don't, but it really is starting to feel like they're intentionally trying to keep these numbers going because they're working so hard to go against themselves. They're doing unconstitutional things to go against themselves. The judge just said last week that they can't do this. And then they come in this week and they do it anyway. And it's like, what is the point of doing this? Why try so hard to not let kids wear masks when you're forcing them to be in classrooms together? A lot of these classrooms are already overcrowded. So it's like, I just don't really understand what they're trying to accomplish by fighting so hard to allow the virus to continue to spread. Who is that serving?
I guess it's serving their own needs, wills, and wants, honey. Because it's craziness. It is just absolutely craziness. But that flows right into Texas, another red southern state who's popping off. They are now allowing open carry with no permit, y'all. A new pro-gun law in Texas that went into effect this Wednesday allows most Texans who legally own a firearm to carry it openly in public without obtaining a permit or training, a measure that experts say will make it more challenging for law enforcement to protect the public from gun violence. Ciao. We are living in the last days. So you can open carry, you don't need no permit, you don't need no training. I mean, Mike, what's going on in the world?
I really wish we didn't have so much Texas on our show tonight, but I just don't know what's going on out there. I mean, there's no background checks either. So I guess we could throw that out there as well. I mean, anybody that wants the gun, go get it. Go get that strap. You're good. It's crazy. You just walk in, walk out. I mean, shootings in Texas are up 14% from last year. They're up 50% from 2019. So it's not like they can argue that they got this gun situation under control. Obviously, they don't. There were statements from the sheriff that came out yesterday, and a direct quote was, "Now we won't know who the good guys with guns are versus who the bad guys with guns are." And unfortunately, that just made me think of black people. That's going to be us, that they're just going to assume has guns all the time, which is going to be extremely unfortunate. I don't know what's up in the South right now.
Yeah, I mean, are you guys cowboys? Like, what's going on? I mean, allowing almost anyone to carry a gun, a handgun in public, any type of gun in public, with no questions asked, no background check, no safety training, no permit. It's just really, really, really dangerous. And I believe it sets like the worst precedent ever. So I'm totally against this 100%. Um,
Is there anybody in the comments right now that can speak for this? Because I'm very, very curious. I mean, we've covered this topic on here when they were thinking about doing it. I talked before on here how I'm pro-gun. I don't see the benefit of this at all. Does anybody? And if there is somebody, please step up, because I'm just curious.
Look, Leon said no.
Man, I know how you feel, Leon, but we gotta have somebody, man. Where's the conservatives at, man? We usually got somebody trolling us. We don't got no trolling here today.
Oh, it's big trolls. It's always big trolls, Mike Davis. Since we're talking about Texas, there's still more happening in Texas. A Texas high school, actually the first Black principal of the school was suspended after parents accused him of teaching critical race theory. And he took to his social media, he took to his Facebook page, and he said, "I am not the CRT, critical race theory boogeyman. I am the first African American to assume the role of principal at my current school in its 25-year history. And I am keenly aware of how much this fear strikes in the hearts of a small minority who would much rather things go back to the way they used to be." Well, Mike, he sounded off on his Facebook page. He put a whole dissertation, an essay, of how he felt about this situation. And it just sounds like he's being a very vocal Black man, honestly. Like if his teaching and this letter that he sent out to classrooms were out in the District of Columbia, I would bet my last dollar that it would not have generated that much pushback.
There's a couple interesting things here. I want to go back to the last story real fast because there was a comment that said Washington is an open carry state. Yes, Washington is an open carry state, but you have to have a permit, my good sir. My name is so common that when I buy guns in the state of Washington, it usually takes them an extra week to make sure that I'm me and that I'm not one of the Michael Davises that has warrants. There's background checks, there's balances. So no, you can't just walk into a store right now and walk out with a pistol in the state of Washington like you could in Texas. It's different. As for this story right here, I'm gonna have to go to my notes because I found this particularly interesting. They were at a school board meeting in July, and one of the parents stood up. They accused Whitfield of teaching critical race theory, and somebody shouted out that he was teaching the conspiracy theory of systemic racism, which is quite the phrase. I mean, are we calling systemic racism a conspiracy theory now? Because I mean, that's throwing me for a loop in itself. But from there, the rest of the parents continue to chant, "Fire him, fire him." I don't know how we could call this anything else but a witch hunt. There was never any proof. There was never any documented information. I also would like to point out, too, that this man wasn't a teacher. He's the principal. So if someone was teaching critical race theory, it wouldn't be him. It would be one of the teachers. And yet there are no reports of any teachers being reprimanded in any way. It sounds like a bunch of parents got upset at a parent-teacher conference and ended up getting this man suspended. He has no length on how long his suspension will last. They didn't point to any specific thing that he said or did that got him suspended. So, I mean, I know later on we're going to talk about how people could just accuse people with the abortion ban, but apparently in Texas, you could also just walk around accusing people of teaching critical race theory, and that could cost someone their job. I mean, what are we really doing here? This doesn't make any sense.
I think Governor Abbott and every other government official there don't make sense in the state of Texas. But again, I mean, there is no educational system that is teaching CRT, y'all. That is just not happening. It is not moving into curriculum. It's not going to show up in your syllabus. This is just it's nothing. It's just conversation. It's just some stuff that's going on the cable news channel that's installing fear into people for no particular reason. And so listen, they pulled that principal down to the stubs, Mike, because he was the first in his 25-year history. And I believe that, he is very vocal about issues that are relating to brown and Black people. And I think he is not changing or conforming to their norm and bringing in, a breath of fresh air, if you will.
Absolutely. And I also point out there were a lot of students that supported him. A lot of students came out, they had his back. But yeah, I think it's what you said. It's a myth. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't really understand what some of these people believe in. I mean, they're not teaching critical race theory. That's not happening. And if you're so twisted that you think systemic racism is a conspiracy theory, then man, you might want to go study critical race theory because there's a lot that you can go learn. Because oh man, I just be at a loss of words sometimes with these people. Texas, please. I got so much family in Texas. What's going on out there?
Man, save the heat for Texas for the clapback. But look, y'all, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we got to talk about Lil Nas X dropping that pregnancy announcement in People magazine. Stay tuned.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
Robert Johnson is going in.
Hey y'all, this is Jessie of Converge Media.
And I'm Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald.
And together, we host Clapback Culture every Thursday night at 7 p.m. right here on Converge Media.
And as y'all know, we've done a lot of coverage of the vaccine on our show. And we've both shared our experiences about getting vaxxed.
We are here to let you know that in the state of Washington, everyone over 12 years old is eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine.
Keep in mind that there is no cost for the COVID-19 vaccine. This also means that you don't need to have medical insurance, so don't let that stop you.
You can get more information and resources by visiting kingcounty.gov/COVID.
If you're more comfortable speaking to a live person, you can call 206-477-3977.
The hotline is especially good for those in our community who may need translation services.
Or to set up an in-home vaccination appointment for themselves or someone they know that might not be comfortable at a vaccination site due to a disability, anxiety, or other reasons, or just to be connected to other resources.
Here in King County, the COVID vaccine is accessible and available. The summer is here, and we know you want to be outside. So let's celebrate the summer safely by getting vaxxed.
Welcome back, y'all. And now, man, we got a couple interesting topics in this For the Culture section. Julia, you went and found some gems. You want to talk about this new album about to drop?
Listen, Lil Nas X reveals that he's pregnant with his album. In an over-the-top announcement photo. Cuddy, please put that on the screen so the people can see it. Lil Nas X is talking about "This Is My Baby," and he says, you know, his forthcoming debut of his album Ontario is scheduled to release on September 17th. Mike, this has drawn so much Twitter controversy, y'all. Naima, she tweets, she says, oh, can we put it back up? I'm sorry. Okay, okay, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, a little bit of delay, y'all. She says, every time people have a fit about Lil Nas X, he goes straight to his whiteboard to cook up something that'll piss them off even more. I don't know how they haven't realized this yet. If this is not the truth, I don't know what's the truth. Lil Nas then did so much controversial stuff. He's more of a troll and clickbait than Tekashi 6ix9ine. I mean, he is like totally beating him out on this. I hate this. I really don't like this, and I'm just gonna be completely honest. It's too much for me. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want to see. I don't care if he's a gay man, a straight man, a straight female, a gay female, a non-gender, non-binary. I don't care. None of that matters to me. I just don't like the idea of simulating that you're pregnant to be controversial. Like, you're not doing this in any, it's not, to me, it just feels like trolling. It doesn't feel like anything significant, doesn't feel special, doesn't feel genuine. It feels like clickbait. And that is why I absolutely do not like it. Like, you're doing it just to stir up controversy. And I think that's whack.
I think that Lil Nas X is really, really good at the internet.
Period.
I think that he's mastered this. I think he knows what to put out there to get clicks. I think he knows how to run up the numbers in the way that he needs to. I think he knows how to piss off Lil Boosie. And I think Boosie's going to have something to say about this real soon. And I'm going to be there to laugh at whatever Boosie does next. But, you know, I don't follow Lil Nas X on anything because I just don't want to participate. I think that it's dope to be yourself. And I think that, you know, when he came out with Old Town Road, when he first came out and was like, hey, you know, you really listen to the lyrics, you can see I'm gay. It's like, okay, cool. So you're living your true self. I think you're right. I think he takes it a little too far. But I do think that it serves the purpose that he wants it to serve. I think he wants people to see it and be upset. I think he wants people to come after him because people coming after him is ultimately what's going to drive up his numbers. So, I mean, do I like it personally? No, but I do understand it. And I think it's going to keep him relevant. And I think that he's lucky that he actually does make good music, whether you like it or not. The music itself is going to be good enough to sustain him, and all of this other stuff is going to push it forward. So, I mean, man, he's here to stay.
Yeah,
he's here to stay. But I don't disagree with you.
It's a great, it's a marketing tactic that works. Being a person who is a professional marketer, I just don't like it, right? I don't like the disingenuousness of it. And I think it's almost like there's a series on Netflix called Clickbait, and it's about, if this video gets to 5 million views, we're gonna kill this person. And we're so infatuated with this idea of like, whoa, what happened? I mean, even the fact we're talking about it on our show, like, it is one of those things where it's just like, he's going to do something so bizarre, so off the wall, that people are going to start talking about it. There's another overlay, another tweet of people going on about this. Donnell Rawlins, the comedian, he takes a popular opinion, or we can take this one. Jarrett Weiselman, he says, I'm sorry, but Lil Nas X getting People magazine to run his pregnancy photos in their Middle America magazine is straight up legendary, and just one more example of why we need him and so many more artists like him. Clap, clap, clap. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth in that statement, and I think it serves exactly the point that you brought up, Mike, and that this marketing strategy works. And I do think, he is poking at the machine in a lot of ways. Like, he's always going against mainstream and finding his way and navigating his way into places and spaces that he may not have, or individuals like him may not have been welcome. So I do like that, but I just don't like this marketing tactic still.
I agree. And I think one thing too that kind of jumps out when we talk about Lil Nas X, and I think, one of the reasons why so many people are always so fast to come to him is because, Old Town Road ended up being such a hit with the kids that a lot of kids follow him. So like a lot of people are saying, what does this mean for the kids? And to be honest, I don't even know how to answer that. But what I would say though is that, my kids haven't seen this photo. I got 2 kids and I got parental locks on all the devices. They don't see anything that I don't want them to see. So, you know, I feel like you got to parent your own kids. You got to monitor what your kids see. And, you know, for the adults, this is fine. I'm sure that, and Lil Nas X has a fan base, man. There's a lot of people that are going to be down with this. I'm not in that fan base, but it exists and he's doing it for them. So it is what it is.
I don't think I think we as adults don't give kids enough credit. Kids are not shocked by this. Lil Nas X,
They're not.
Little Nas X, we're shocked. You know what I'm saying? We're shocked that, and we believe that this is bizarre. But kids, people who are 10, 15, 20 years younger than us, even more, this is not out the norm for them. They are growing up in a different environment. And I think we have to, you know, put some respect on the ideologies of these kids. They're just coming up in a different time. And so what we feel is different, odd, unique, unicorn-esque, is not shocking to them. I think that I don't even think they're taking this that serious. And they're probably looking at it, laughing at it, listening to the album and moving on.
I think you're absolutely right. These kids are shocking, honestly. Like, just the time that they're growing up in and the things that they see as normal. Even with my own kids, sometimes they say things and it just blows my mind. And I'm just like, man, like, when I was a kid, it was just so different. So you're right. You're absolutely right.
Speaking of albums, y'all, Kanye West dropped an album, or Universal dropped an album. Who knows, child? But Kanye West dropped an album, the long-awaited Donda, with no album art cover, y'all. And basically, he claims that his label, Universal Music Group, released his very delayed 10th studio album without his approval. He went to Instagram and Twitter and said that basically they put it out without his approval. He also claimed that Universal blocked a song featuring DaBaby and Marilyn Manson from being on the record. It kind of got messy and dicey on social media. He said that Universal, blocked Jail 2 from being on the album. Universal has no comment. So there's that. I listened to the album. I had a conversation with my brother about it. I went and read some reviews. I can't connect with it. This album is so different, and music is one of those things that should speak to your soul. And it's very difficult for me to connect with this album in any other way. But I can say that Kanye is in a whole different journey and in a different walk in his life right now. That his celebrityism and all of that, he ain't worried about none of that. He is absolutely, in my opinion, a very tortured spirit, and he is going through some conflict. And he is really, really, really leaning into his spirituality and really leaning on God. But I think he is definitely at a war, a spiritual war.
Yeah, I think it's crazy for people our age, because we remember a Kanye that a lot of these youngsters don't remember. Kanye has changed so much just as an artist. He's now like a really, really acquired taste. Donda was cool. I didn't hate it. Mm-hmm. I understood it. I think that Kanye tries so hard to push the bounds of music that sometimes he'll make music now that won't really catch until a couple years from now. Mm-hmm. I think that he isn't really making music for us. He's making music for him. Yeah. And I think that that's a really, really big distinction. He's not really making that music so we can go to the club and get it in. I think it's more so what you said. It's his soul. This is his healing, his cleansing process, putting something like this forth. He is leaning really hard on God and the spirituality piece. And I think that really he's using this music to work through things that he has within himself. I'm glad that the music got released. I am a person that can separate the art from the artist. So like all the MAGA stuff, I could put that aside and listen to the album, but it's definitely not one that I'm gonna just slap riding around. But I definitely, whenever Kanye drops something, I'm gonna give it a listen.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I gave it like a real strong listen, because I support Kanye. I support his movement. I support his journey. I'm not a stand for Kanye. I'm not one of those fans who's just gonna like, do all of that. But I definitely am in full support of Kanye West. I think that you touched a lot of points that I didn't think about. Maybe in a few years, this will touch generations in a different way. For me, because I understand where he's at in his journey. It's too heavy for me. The energy is too much that I can't take on all that energy and then go about my day. Like, it is very tortured. But there is a track on there, 24, that I really like, that has been stuck in my head, that I've been singing all day. So I guess to that point, there are going to be some tracks on there that do speak to somebody's spirit. And shout out to Kanye West and this new journey that he's on. And I wish him well, and may God continue to bless him and lead him on the right path.
Well said. I agree.
Well, look, let's go to break, y'all. And when we come back, we got some clap back for you. And for the state of Texas and their ban on abortion. Stay tuned.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
Hey y'all, this is Julia Jessie of Converge Media.
And I'm Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald.
And together, we host Clapback Culture every Thursday night at 7 p.m. right here on Converge Media.
And as y'all know, we've done a lot of coverage of the vaccine on our show. And we've both shared our experiences about getting vaxxed.
We are here to let you know that in the state of Washington, everyone over 12 years old is eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine.
Keep in mind that there is no cost for the COVID-19 vaccine. This also means that you don't need to have medical insurance, so don't let that stop you.
You can get more information and resources by visiting kingcounty.gov/COVID.
If you're more comfortable speaking to a live person, you can call 206-477-3977.
The hotline is especially good for those in our community who may need translation services.
Or to set up an in-home vaccination appointment for themselves or someone they know that might not be comfortable at a vaccination site due to a disability, anxiety, or other reasons, or just to be connected to other resources.
Here in King County, the COVID vaccine is accessible and available. The summer is here, and we know you want to be outside. So let's celebrate the summer safely by getting vaxxed.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We got one more story to clap back at before we get out of here. No surprise, we're heading back to Texas again. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the new abortion ban. There's so much going on here, and we do have a clip that's going to break a lot of it down. I think one of the highlights that's going to jump out at a lot of people is that this new ban, first of all, It bans abortions after 6 weeks, which, a lot of women won't even know they're pregnant within the first 6 weeks. And on top of that, it encourages citizens to turn doctors and clinics, and you could even turn someone in for driving someone to an abortion clinic, and you'll make at least 10 G's for turning in your fellow citizens. So it's wow. A lot of people didn't expect that piece to make it through. It directly goes against Roe v. Wade. I think a lot of activists have been standing on Roe v. Wade for so long, and it seems that the state of Texas just blew past it. There's another case coming up real soon in Mississippi. These two victories can prove to be monumental for people who oppose abortion. So we're going to go to the clip, and then we're going to come back and break it down.
We have breaking news overnight from the Supreme Court. In a 5-4 vote, the court refused to block a new Texas law that is the most restrictive abortion law in the country. Chief Justice John Roberts sided with the 3 liberals. The court's decision does not prevent it from considering this case in the future. Abortion rights supporters are protesting the law, calling it unconstitutional. Ben Tracy is outside the Supreme Court. Ben, good morning.
Vlad, good morning. In her dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor called the court's decision stunning. She says this Texas law flouts nearly 50 years of federal precedent. But for now, this Texas law, which bans abortion after just 6 weeks of pregnancy, which is before most women even know they're pregnant, will remain in place. Abortion rights protesters at the Texas state capitol Wednesday vowed to keep fighting.
It is our right, our individual right, to choose whether and when we're going to have children.
Across Texas, abortion providers warn they may have to close their doors and that the new law will only lead to illegal and dangerous abortions.
Medical professionals, clergy members especially, that were around before Roe v. Wade in '73 can tell you the horror stories.
The Texas law bans abortion once a so-called fetal heartbeat is detected, usually around 6 weeks. It also seemingly contradicts the Supreme Court decision in Roe v. Wade, which guarantees the right to abortion until fetal viability, which is about 22 to 24 weeks. The Texas law also allows any private citizen to sue someone helping a woman get an abortion, which includes doctors, clinic staff, or even someone who drives a woman to a clinic. Those who win a lawsuit can be awarded at least $10,000.
Those are the ones who are breaking the law, who will be held liable for their criminal activity.
Elizabeth Graham is vice president of Texas Right to Life. She says anti-abortion advocates are now focused on a Mississippi case the Supreme Court will hear this fall that could overturn Roe v. Wade.
The justices will either have to strike down Roe or say that life can be protected at this stage. And if life can be protected at this stage, we thereby concede that Roe was a judicial concoction and is now no longer the law or the precedent of the land.
Wow. So I know y'all seen all that. That's a lot. I just want to add that this new law has no exceptions for rape or incest. And there's also a whistleblower website where people can log in and make anonymous accusations against other people. This is a lot to unpack. Julie, I'm going to go to you. What are your thoughts here?
Ciao. Listen, where do I even begin, Mike Davis? My thoughts are this. Texas has just allowed a law for open carry. And now you're allowing and enforcing an abortion ban that also enforces vigilante justice. So now it's just so many layers and so many things to unravel. This is an unprecedented attack on women. And I believe Joe Biden spoke on that. This is an unprecedented attack on women. We're talking about GOP leaders who are complaining, moaning, and groaning about wearing a 4-inch piece of material over their face on their body. But we're going to dig deep down into the uterus of women and make a determination of what they can and can't do with their bodies. I don't understand the logic here. And I think this is crazy because this doesn't affect women who can afford to hop on an airplane, to hop in their car and drive to the next state that can offer them this type of care. But it's going to affect the poor Black and brown women and the women living in rural communities that are not going to have access to this type of care. I also have an argument for this pro-life, right? You're pro-life, but yet what happens to the woman who has the baby and you're not pro medical care? You're not pro daycare. You're not pro career. You're not pro safety. And so you're talking about bringing the life into the world and all of this and all that good stuff. But then what happens to the life when the life is here? We don't have an idea, a plan, or an agenda for the babies that are coming into this world that do not have a footing to stand on with these women. This is an attack, and I cannot believe, and this is why I talked about, I'm not totally for a vaccine mandate, because I do not, and I strongly believe that government should not be in charge of what we do with our bodies. You guys know I talk about that all the time. And so this is why I'm not wavering, because you can't have it both ways. If we use this same logic, the same type of legal jargon and apply it to a vaccine mandate, let's see that roll out, right? And we're going to get some pushback, because you can't tell me what I need to do with my body, but you're going to reach down in my uterus and make a determination of what I can and cannot do. That's absolutely ridiculous. We're seeing now that Donald Trump fully loaded the Supreme Court, and this is where it is, and it's rearing its ugly head. You're talking about the reversal of a law for the over 60 years. 60 years. There's also a ban on contraception, the morning after pill. So you're saying I can't even have a night where I may need my morning after pill that costs like $50, by the way. I can't even get that. I might not even be pregnant yet, but I can't get something so I don't get pregnant. Man, Mike Davis, it make sense.
I can't, but I think that was the perfect clap. I think you hit every note that there was to hit. I agree on all of it. The part about this being an attack on women definitely sticks out to me, because these same laws apply to victims of rape. I mean, how can you tell a woman who was raped and ends up pregnant that she has to keep the rapist baby? I mean, that's a scary thought. I think you hit the notes too as well, that once these kids are born, these are the same people pushing the rhetoric that don't want any social services for anybody. So they don't really care about life. I think you're absolutely right on the vaccine piece. I think we share that same opinion with the vaccine mandates. I think asking people to wear a mask is totally fine. Asking people to put medicine in their body, I don't agree with. Yeah, I don't know the angle. I think what's kind of getting to me with a lot of these stories that we're seeing coming out from these Republicans in these red states is that there's just a lack of consistency in their agenda when it comes to the results that they're going to get. Like they don't want to be forced to take the vaccine, but they do want to force women to have babies. Like, that's an inconsistency. The only thing that's consistent is their lack of care for human life and their lack of care for their fellow Americans. I mean, these same Republicans are all over the news right now talking about impeach Joe Biden over what's going on in Afghanistan. These same Republicans are talking right now about women's rights in Afghanistan. What about the women's rights right here in America? Like, there's no consistency. The only thing that's consistent is that they don't really care about other people. And it's just a scary world that we're living in right now.
Listen, Mike, you brought up a good point. These red states are agendizing the things that they believe are priority. And so they don't have any time to have conversations about immigration. They don't have time to have conversations about infusing capital into medical services, into assistance programs for people who need help, right? That are right here. We don't have time to take care of the human beings that are eating, walking, breathing, and living on this earth. But yet we have all the time in the world to invest into their agenda to roll back something. Because you know what, Mike? Abortions are not going to stop. They're just going to become illegal, and it's going to hurt women that are already living. And so I love when people are like, oh, but it's, you know, I'm a Christian or I'm a Catholic and we don't believe in this and that. Okay, that's cool. What does that have to do with a woman's legal constitutional right to do what they want to do with their body? And why do I have anybody, man, woman, non-gender binary, coming and saying what I can do with my body? And I'm of the belief, and I'll say this: a lot of people are like, but what about rape and incest? It don't even matter about rape and incest. 80%, 80 to 90% are the statistics that show that women are having abortions after 6 weeks. These majority of them, I'll bet, are not rape and is not incest. It's just regular, everyday wives, already mothers, young women, career-oriented women who don't want to have no baby right now. That's it. It's regular, everyday women. They're all around you. I can guarantee you, if you sat in a room with 10 women, probably 8 or 9 of them didn't have an abortion. So it's one of those situations where it's just like, it's gonna happen. And I would hate to be that woman sitting right now in the state of Texas who's already 7 weeks pregnant, who's already 9 weeks pregnant, and has to carry that pregnancy longer than she wants to until she can figure out how she can go take care and make her own medical decision on what she wants to do with her life. And so I can't imagine being in that position, right? And everyone's like, oh, but she should have did this and that. Okay, well, guess what? She can't even get a morning after pill. So what about that? What about women stacking up on contraception? What about women who need Planned Parenthood to get their birth control? What about women who got pregnant while they're on birth control? What about that? You know what I'm saying? I know wives in full marriages with kids who are on birth control, some form of birth control, and still get pregnant. And they're like, sis, I'm not here for it. We're not doing this. And so I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't either. I agree with you. And like always, the poor people always got to get the short end of the stick. Because like you said earlier, those people with money and resources, they'll be able to leave the state and go get what they need. The women that don't have access to those resources, they're gonna get the short end of the stick on this, like always. So it's a horrible situation. I think both of your clapbacks was on point. You're absolutely right. You didn't.
Last thing before we go, and this is the craziest part of this situation. The fact that anybody who wants to investigate whether or not someone is implementing an abortion, receiving an abortion, taking you to go get an abortion, helping you schedule it, pay for it, can sue you is crazy to me. And who are these people? Because you know what, Mike? There's going to be hella people that are that crazy to do that and to turn you in for 10 years. Oh yeah, they're gonna go hard. Like that's just, I don't know, Mike. I don't know.
I don't either. But we'll definitely continue to keep our eye on this. We do have to go. Like I mentioned before, there's a really big case coming up in Mississippi. We'll see what happens when that case hits the courts. I believe in Mississippi right now, 15 weeks is the limit, which also goes against Roe v. Wade, where it was 22 to 24 weeks. So We'll keep our eye on it. You know, we're going to bring it to y'all. We'll discuss it. We'll clap back at it. But for tonight, that's our show. I'm Mike Davis. You can find me anywhere you find the South Seattle Emerald. My Twitter at Real M Davis. Julia, where can the people find you?
I'm Jules Jessie with Converge Media. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Treasure of JULES. You know what it is. Thank you so much for watching, you all. That's our show. Peace.
Real fast, Julia, you here this weekend?
Yes, I'm in town this weekend. I'm pulling up on Saturday and on Sunday. We're going to be at Sleepless in Seattle with our boy Cuddy. Me and Mike are going to be doing some interviews, and we will drop all the information on social media. Oh, thank you. I love the overlay. Sleepless in Seattle is a creative festival by Cuddy Productions at Seward Park Amphitheater. Mike and I will be there at 4. Cuddy, what time does it start? What's the start time of the event? It's from 1
Event starts at 1 p.m.
1 to 8, I think. 1 to 8, y'all. So pull up.
Yes.
We'll see y'all there. It's gonna be a music festival. It's gonna be turned up. It's gonna be lit. I'm excited.
Me too. Well, thanks, y'all. Appreciate y'all for joining us tonight.